of existence. And since the time is very short, I would suggest that probably it would be best to review the 9 pastoral priorities that have been recommended by the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines after the 20th year celebration of the Second Plenary Council of the Philippines. You know that we have been dedicating each year to a specific theme, and there is a background to that. And I do believe that those 9 pastoral priorities are the areas we feel we are most challenged about in the Philippine Church. But for this morning, let me just zero in on the 2, because I believe that they are very urgent pastoral priorities. I think the electrical wiring is also a pastoral priority for me. Yeah, because the short circuit can be very dangerous. It can cause fire. I would suggest that you have your electrical wirings checked out, because those are pretty heavy, those air conditioners, and they can overload. So the 2 challenges that are presented for the next 2 years by the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines are about dialogue and mission. Let me just zero in on the 2 for lack of time. Dialogue and mission. There are 3 topics for this year, interreligious dialogue, ecumenism, and indigenous cultures or indigenous peoples. But what sums them up is really the word dialogue. Our capacity to dialogue with people who are other than us. To dialogue with fellow Christians who are not necessarily of the Roman Catholic tradition. That's ecumenism. To work for Christian unity. Because we, of course, have to acknowledge the historical fact that it remains as a huge scandal that we profess faith in the same Lord Jesus Christ and be so disunited. The second is, of course, dialogue with other communities of faith and dialogue with indigenous people. I find it very strange that we now refer to the word indigenous peoples we use the word indigenous peoples to refer to the people in the upland, in the upland territories, as if we were not indigenous ourselves. I find that a little bit strange. In the time of Jose Rizal, at the turn of the 19th century, at the time of the revolution, indigenous referred to all the natives in this country. And the word was Indio. It was, of course, a derogatory term, a pejorative term. We were called Indios, Spaniards, indigenous. And Jose Rizal, insisted on referring to ourselves as Filipinos instead of Indians. When Filipino was really used in reference to Spaniards born in the country. And so the moment we started calling ourselves Filipinos, then we distanced ourselves from the others, our fellow Indios, and now referred to them as indigenous, as if though we were not indigenous anymore. And I think we're acknowledging a historical aberration there. That there is a divide among Filipinos themselves. And we are trying to heal that divide through the dialogue of cultures. And we know that there are many indigenous peoples who resisted encroachments because they felt that they were fully aware of the colonial purposes of the Spaniards. Thank God we have outgrown colonialism. but we have such a background, and we have to have it always at the back of our mind. That the context in which the faith was brought to these islands was not altogether sublime. It was combined with many political nuances and circumstances. So it is a big challenge to dialogue. To dialogue with people of other faiths without bearing the presupposition that they are people who cannot be saved. We used to think that way, didn't we? We bring God to godless people. And I think if we still think that way, it's shaming us. Because an evangelizer who thinks he brings God to godless people will never really succeed in his task. I think the beginning of evangelization is the acknowledgement of God in other cultures. The oldest Christmas carol is not Silent Night or O Come All Ye Faithful. The oldest Christmas carol is Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to people of good will. It doesn't say, and on earth peace to Catholics. It doesn't say, and on earth peace to Christians. No, people of good will. And we do not have a monopoly of goodwill. We will always encounter peoples of goodwill. Wherever we are in the world, whatever religion, whatever culture. Dialogue is very challenging because we bear a lot of unquestioned presuppositions. We cannot dialogue without beginning with respect for the otherness of the other. Respect. Sometimes we probably think the world is colored red, only to realize that we are wearing red spectacles. And it's good to ask, what spectacles do we bring with us in mission? Some unquestioned presuppositions, biases, prejudices against the other. Only by putting those aside is dialogue possible at all. So, dialogue is indeed a big challenge because we have the strong tendency in the church to be so self-referential, to use the vocabulary of Pope Francis. And an alternative term for self-referentiality for me is parochialism. That's why at the moment I'm not building new parishes in the Diocese of Caloocan. I do not want to multiply parochialism. What I build instead are mission stations. Because I believe that the second big challenge is mission. The big challenge is mission. And the common misconceptions about mission have to be addressed if we are serious about celebrating next year as a year of mission. A year of mission. Because we have left mission to missionaries. And by missionaries, we refer mainly to missionary congregations. When mission is the business of the whole church. The challenge to allow the laity to participate in mission is still a huge challenge in the Philippine church. We are still a largely clericalistic church, which is partly also causing the parochialism. Lay participation is still a big challenge. I mentioned about the politics of populism a while ago in my homily. The politics of populism that is conditioning majority of Filipino Catholics to agree with the government's unchristian and inhuman approach to criminality and illegal drugs. The fact that 75 to 80% of our country, of our people, agree with this kind of approach means we are a dismal failure. We'll have to begin by that humble admission that we have a very minimal moral influence on our country. Perhaps before we had quite a bit of a political influence. But if we have influence, should it be political? We're spiritual and moral leaders. If our influence is still political and not spiritual and moral, well, of course, the spiritual and moral influence can redound to a political, very clear political convictions. No? But I realized that myself when I took over being bishop of the Diocese of Caloocan 4 years ago. I was merely informed that our population is 2 million. Until I found out that 2 million meant only the registered citizens. I did not know until I became Bishop of Caloocan about undocumented Filipinos in the Philippines. I always thought of undocumented Filipinos as the TNTs in other countries, tago na tago. Only to discover that a good, sizable number of Filipinos are non-entities in our country. They don't exist. They're not included in the statistics because they don't have a birth certificate. Did you know that? They cannot avail themselves of government services, of public education, of public health care, because they are non-entities. Many of the people who are being killed through extrajudicial killing are non-entities. I was contacted by Eusebio Funeral Service just a couple of weeks ago. And they were asking me to bury 20 cadavers because there are 20 unburied cadavers in their funeral parlor, stacked together like dried fish, one on top of the other. Unburied, unclaimed. And I said, of course, because that is part of the tradition of the church, bury the dead. And I said, I have only one little requirement to bury them. Would you please provide me with a police report and an autopsy report? Because they are crime victims. If I bury them, the consequences will be serious. They are crime victims. Up to now, they have not provided the autopsy report and the police report. That's why you see it can be very hazardous to do what we believe we must do as pastors. But the problem is, what must we do as pastors is not even clear to most pastors. Because precisely we're very parochial. I discovered that 11 masses are celebrated every Sunday at the San Roque Cathedral of Caloocan City. And I felt very happy because the church was always full. But I counted the sitting capacity of the church is 800. Standing room is 1,000. Times 11 masses on Sunday, that's 11,000. And I asked about the population of the cathedral parish, it's 300,000. That's not even 10%. We're not even reaching 10%. And what does it mean to be parochial? To be parochial is to stay in your parish and wait for people to come. And you serve people who are used to coming to church, when you know that majority of them are unchurched. I woke up very early and we passed through a narrow alley, a narrow street, and there was this lady who was bringing pandesal, and she was standing in front of the Nazareno on a street corner. These are unchurched people. There is nothing that nourishes them spiritually except popular piety, popular religiosity. Thank God for popular religiosity. It's sariling sikap. We don't reach them. Do you think those people who trooped to Quiapo during the Traslación belong to the church? 6 million people. I doubt if there would be 500,000 of those who are church-going. But they're such devout believers. They are marginalized. They are not just in the margins of society, they are also in the margins of the church. Sometimes they would find their way to the church like on Simbang Gabi or during Lent. But they will not go inside. They will sit at the plant boxes. They are at the margins. They don't think they belong. Because inside our churches, there are posters that say proper attire. So immediately they say, oh, we don't belong here. You see, at best, we're able to reach only around 10 to 20% of our baptized Filipino Catholics throughout the country. And we have to begin by humbly admitting that. And why should we begrudge evangelicals and Pentecostals? They are the fastest growing religious groups, by the way. Why should we begrudge when we're not able to do shepherding on our own flock? Isn't it about time that we treated them as fellow co-workers in the work of evangelization? We have to begin by humbly admitting our shortcomings. We're not able to reach our people. This is far, very, very remote from the parable of the shepherd who has 100 sheep and leaves behind the 99 in search of the one lost. No, it's the other way around. It's the majority who are out there, and we're tending to the minority inside. I was telling you about my shock about undocumented Filipinos, unregistered citizens. It was then that I discovered that quite a sizable number of, like I was in Barangay Lomos where we put up a mission station. I was talking to the barangay captain and I asked what the population of the barangay of Lomos was. And that's a whole huge slum community. She said 100,000. And she said officially 100,000. I said, what is the unofficial population? She said 120,000. You have to add another 20. Meaning, those are the people born at home and who would not even spend 140 pesos to have their children registered. And as their child or the children grow up, and they realize what a disadvantage it is for their children to be unregistered, it is next to impossible for them to apply for a late registration of birth certificate because they are required so many legal documents. And they have to spend a minimum of 1,000 pesos to be able to obtain that little document that will turn them into Filipinos. That will make them citizens of this country. So that they'll be counted. That was a shock to me. And I said, we're engaged in feeding programs. My goodness, more basic than feeding programs is to give these children an identity, to make them citizens of this country. All of this is a shock to me. And so, I don't build parishes, I build mission stations. And if you're generous enough to partner with me, I wouldn't mind welcoming you in my diocese. I've welcomed ICM sisters, I've welcomed Jesuits, I've welcomed the Misioneros Servidores de la Palabra, Hermanas Misioneras Servidores de la Palabra, Martinian brothers, whoever is generous enough to. Because I have only 27, well, 27 parishes. I have only 33 there are 33 priests incardinated. And about 20 religious. Not very much for 2.2 million. And so you talk about mission as going to far off places. They're not even very far. They are unreached by the church. I challenge you to rethink mission. And to do it by trying to rise over clericalism and parochialism. Hopefully, we will find the real non-entities in this country who have not even been reached by the Word of God. Well, those are the two challenges that I meant to share with you. The challenge of dialogue and the challenge of redefining mission and empowering especially the laity to be our partners in mission. Participatory, in a more participatory church. That's very difficult. That's the difficult part. Lay people are programmed into parochialism. When they volunteer to us, they want to serve the church. That's their notion of ministry, to serve the church. But I have yet to discover ministries that are meant to serve society as members of a servant church. And we're inventing them wherever necessary. We have new ministries now, like Agapai. We invented it because of the mental health issues of our communities, because of addiction. I've always known that addiction was a disease, but this government would rather deal with it as a criminality. And people agree. They say to keep our streets safe, get rid of addicts. And I cannot get myself to accept the soundbite from a president who says addicts are not human. And we keep quiet, like it's okay. I mean, I have yet to hear people, even schools of theology, to make a stand and say, no, sir, we disagree with you. Addicts are sick people, and you don't have the right to call them non-human, because the moment you condition society into believing and accepting that they're non-humans, then you make it easy for them to accept that they are dispensable. They can be gotten rid of because they're not human. What are they? They are pests. That's where I come from. Let me end with this thought. I was invited to the chapter of the Redemptorist Fathers, and I started my sharing by asking, how come you called your congregation the Congregation of the Holy Redeemer instead of the Congregation of the Holy Savior? And there was one American Redemptorist who raised his hand and said, now that you're asking it, Bishop, I do remember in our history that originally there was a debate between the two names. Some of us wanted to name the congregation Holy Savior, but others wanted Holy Redeemer. And there was a voting, and the majority voted Holy Redeemer. And I said, now I'm asking you why. And he said, I can't recall exactly. Would you be able to guide us into understanding why it meant so much to us? I said, I don't know, but it means so much to me. Because I think salvation is generic, redemption is specific. Most religions are busy with salvation. And most religions presuppose that salvation is for the good, the righteous, the deserving. Damnation is what the undeserving, the sinners, the unrighteous deserve. Not so with Jesus. And I think there lies precisely the most radical thing about Christianity. We don't believe anymore in a God who can save only the good. Wala namang ka-challenge siya. To save only the good, the well-behaved, and to reserve the Eucharist only for them. Salvation is for sinners. Meaning, we believe that our God intends the salvation of all humankind. That's what makes us Catholic. The inclusivity. All of humankind. All creation. We don't limit our God. But then again, of course, how does God save sinners? The unrighteous, the undeserving. Well, He has to pay the price. He has to pay the price. That is what the cross is about. That's what the passion and death of Jesus on the cross is about. That salvation is won for a price. And that price is what unconditional loving is about. And so must I give up on addicts and criminals and still call myself a disciple of the Holy Redeemer? Think about it. Redemption is paid for a price. And the price is my own flesh and blood. I give my flesh to eat, my blood to drink. That is how I understand redemption. It's the desire of God to save all. And I usually have a difficulty when I ask the faithful of that time. I said, do you believe that there are bad people? They say yes. I have to reformulate and say, do you believe that there are innately bad people? In Tagalog, meron bang likas na masamang tao dito sa mundo? That is when they keep quiet. Because we know, that you cannot be a Christian and believe that there are innately evil people in this world. That we are all innately good. Even if we are capable of so much evil. What makes humankind capable of so much evil, in spite of our innate goodness, is the mystery of it. But if evil is powerful, good is more powerful. And we are challenged to conquer evil not with evil, but with good. And that good is about unconditional and redeeming love. I wanted to end with that. Thank you for